Today we will dive into the Oaxacan underworld, exploring its tombs and funeral rituals. The traditions of death celebration in Mexico date back to pre-Hispanic times, while traces of burials exist throughout the country. Oaxaca stands out in this regard. There are countless tombs in plain view, mostly closed to the public, but some still accessible. The so-called archaeological zones were habitable places in ancient times, created to house political, religious, astronomical, and palace buildings. Oaxaca has several such sites, including Monte Albán, Yagul, Sachila, Lambitieco, Dainzú, Mitla, Atzompa, among others, some of which are more difficult to access. The main population groups in this area are the Zapotecs, followed later by the Mixtecs. The most famous city so far is Monte Albán, but there were some preceding it. Others flourished simultaneously and some emerged after the fall of Monte Albán. However, death is present in all, making it necessary to create tombs within these urban centers. For example, in Monte Albán alone, a total of 249 tombs have been found, explaining why some are identified with numbers like 105, 108, due to their large quantity. The same is true in other places. Several tombs are believed to have been made for burying common people, although most were actually created for individuals of high rank. Naturally, from pre-Hispanic times until today, many tombs have been looted, but some have survived that fate. The most famous of all is Tomb 7 in Monte Albán, where more than 500 funerary objects were found, such as gold pieces, glass, clay, jewelry, carved bones, a skull with turquoise inlays, etc. This does not mean that the tomb remained intact for hundreds of years until its discovery in 1932. The Zapotecs created it, but it was later reused by the Mixtecs, containing remains from both groups. This was a common practice, as many tombs were reused over decades or even hundreds of years. In this process, the older bones were pushed to the bottom of the tombs to make room for new corpses. As a result, human remains from different eras had been found in the same tombs. Some tombs were not looted but emptied by the relatives of those buried. They took the remains of their ancestors when they left the population, leaving the tombs empty. Funeral practices naturally changed with the arrival of the Spanish. Today, unless they are cremated, the deceased are placed in collected places called panteones, cemeteries, unlike the closer relationship between the living and the dead in pre-Hispanic times. Unlike today's collective burial sites, in pre-Hispanic times, there were tombs under residential complexes and various important structures. This means that you could literally have your deceased family members beneath your feet, and you could visit and hold ceremonies in their tombs whenever you wished. The creation of this structure required effort and the application of many resources, even if they appear simple. Therefore, it is speculated that not just anyone was buried in them. Patterns found in the discovered remains suggest that generally heads of the family, fathers, mothers, or powerful figures akin to today's kings of these regions were buried in these types of tombs. Other family members would be buried elsewhere. Another aspect that makes these places more intimated in related to the distribution of the space they occupy. The body had more space here compared to the contemporary coffins, where the body is fully enclosed. Even the simplest tombs had more space than modern coffins. In some of these tombs, one could enter standing up, without bending over, as seen in Sachila, Mitla, or the Cerro de la Campana tomb. Once placed on the tomb floor, the body had sufficient space. Regarding their construction, it is believed that they may have sought to mimic the spaces the deceased occupied in life. Some tombs had a central courtyard, similar to those found in residential complexes, surrounded on the sides by structures, such as the Cerro de la Campana tomb, with a central courtyard, an inner vestibule, 2 rooms on the east and west sides, and the entrance and exit. Other tombs might not have a central courtyard but resemble houses where you can step out and greet a neighbor, as seen in Yagul or the unique triple tomb in the same location, which is the only one of its kind in Oaxaca. Another aspect that reinforces the domestic style of the tombs is found in the so-called niches, rectangular spaces, in the walls where various objects were left for the use of the deceased. Thus, many of these tombs could represent a microcosm of the places the deceased inhabited in life. In this way, the deceased could go out to the courtyard and spend time with their tomb neighbors. As for architectural styles, they are equally diverse. The more austere ones consist of rectangular rooms that one can access almost on their knees. These interiors lack niches or mural paintings, having only a flat roof and rectangular spaces for depositing bodies. Despite their simplicity, these tombs require significant effort, as some were carved into the rock or involved placing stones and constructing additional layers on top. There are larger rectangular tombs, such as those in Sachila, which have niches and once feature mural paintings. Designs representing humans, owls, and even Mictlantecutli, the Lord of Death, have survived to this day. The complexity increases as some tombs were entirely decorated with stucco and mural paintings like Tomb 150 in Monte Albán, although it is now closed. The reconstruction shows vibrant colored repdams of painted stucco, even in the original is not in the best condition. Some tombs, even if lacking stucco, have triangular roofs. Some tombs feature figuring and elaborate designs on both the facades and internal parts. For example, in the tombs of Blambitieco, at the entrance, well-preserved stucco figures of local rulers can be appreciated, retaining many of their colors. Others, like the Cerro de la Campana tomb, boast impressive masks at the main entrance and the entrance to the inner chamber, with rich engravings on the surviving walls. Less luxurious tombs may have entrance designs that may attribute to Mixtec influence, reminiscence of the designs in Mitla and its intricate fretwork. An example can be seen in Yagul, where fretwork is featured at the entrance. Similarly, the Yagul triple tomb has fretwork inside and faces flanking the entrance. Among this decorative style, perhaps the most impressive are the main tombs of Mitla, breaking with the traditional style of rectangular chambers seen in Monte Albán, creating cross-shaped tombs. Although access is not as easy, requiring one to enter in a crouched position, perhaps as a form of reverency. The interior is spacious enough for a person to stand. The walls are adorned with intricate fretwork, similar to the exteriors of the surrounding buildings. Another tomb called Urun is the remains of another cross-shaped tomb that is known outdoors. The original construction above it was dismantled, leaving only the cross of the tomb. This still provides insight into the internal structure of Mitla tombs. There is yet another tomb style, found in Atzompa, a neighboring mountain to Monte Albán. This tomb has multiple levels where rich vessels were discovered. It has the distinctive feature of having two levels, resembling apartments, with bodies placed on each level in small lateral chambers. Regarding their locations, many tombs were created simultaneously with the main buildings. Examples include the Tomb 7 of Monte Albán, the Tomb of Cerro de las Campanas, the one in Atzompa, and others, where only remnants of the buildings that once stood above them remain. It is evident that these tombs were constructed for important figures, possibly serving as places of worship. Some are situated at the tops of hills, like those in Yagul, or the Cerro de la Flor in the Chocholteca region of Oaxaca. While the Mixtecs and Zapotecs are not the only groups in Oaxaca, the majority seem to have followed similar styles of funerary constructions. However, with the arrival of Europeans, everything changed, and these styles of tombs were replaced by Christian cemeteries. Nevertheless, syncretic memories of these practices still exist, such as the tombs in San Pedro Nodón, a present-day Mixtec village. The cemetery there is syncretic, as many of the tombs resemble the pre-Hispanic ones we have seen. This cemetery is still in use today, reflecting the changes that occurred with cultural classes, but still remembering the past of pre-Hispanic burials. In considering all these images, one can appreciate the richness in every sense that existed around death and that time. In almost no other place in the country, when visiting archaeological sites in Oaxaca, will you find such a concentration of tombs. Now, let's shift from historical and archaeological data to the feelings evoked when encountering the sites. As mentioned, most tombs are closed to preserve them, with covers secured by metal doors or bars. This is understandable because many people might not appreciate the richness and symbolism of these places or take proper care of them. Visitors sometimes touch the friezes, stucco remnants and paintings, leading to the closure of many sites. For instance, about 8 years ago, I had the opportunity to enter 2 tombs in Mitla. However, nowadays this is no longer possible. The same applies to the famous Tomb 7, where Alfonso Caso found perhaps the most important treasure in Mexico, or Tomb 150, with its mural painting. Well, now we can only see them in photos and not in person, but those who have had the opportunity to enter these places can boast that they live a unique experience. Since most people only see the foundations, take photos, and are not interested in exploring the tombs. For example, the famous Tomb 7, which you see here, is visited by almost no one. This is because it is located next to the parking lot of Monte Albán, and the parking lot covers it, with no clear signs indicating its presence. Therefore, there is no entrance fee, but it is seldom visited. However, I didn't find potato chips wrappers near Tomb 7 that someone threw away. The truth is, many people do not appreciate any of this, and I understand why so many archaeological monuments are being closed to the public throughout the country. But there is still hope since some tombs are open, and with proper care and respect, we can explore them, like in Sachila, where, although protected by doors to prevent entry, we can still appreciate the engravings. Or the Tomb 108 of Monte Albán, which is ignored by most tourists. But as you can see, we can still enter. Well, the truth is that when I entered, some had the idea to light a candle. I don't know if it was a tourist or someone from the local area. The most striking of those still open is the triple tomb of Yagul, where entering its interior is like traveling to the past. Imagining how it was decorated originally and still being able to appreciate what are now called tombs 30, 29 and 30. Personally, I don't feel scared to enter, although there is a different atmosphere and based upon entering. There is an awareness that beings were buried there, and their bodies gradually decompose, leaving only the bones. But nevertheless, I believe these are some of the few places where we can truly get close to this pre-Hispanic past of over 500 years ago. And yes, in a sense, it feels like entering a home, a place where we had the opportunity to see its construction, and how in each tomb there are other small internal rooms. Appreciating in person, and not in photos. Indeed, being able to visit an open tomb is already a privilege for a few, and as we go on, it might not be possible in a few years. However, by looking at all the tombs in Oaxaca, even the close ones, they reveal the funerary richness, just imagining how many things they once held, as exemplified by Tomb 7. Obviously, the majority of objects and remains have been lost forever. Still, this tomb helped us better understand the roots of our current Day of the Dead celebrations. If you have the opportunity, with due respect to the constructions, explore the wealth of the tombs of ancient Oaxaca and its funeral past.